trading the Zoe for the likes of Azir, you know, plus a premier jungle counter pick has usually been the case. Not going to be seen here, though.
All right, well, Zoe banned away, Orianna banned away, Ornn, Kalista, Galio, and GP going to be the other bans in the first part of the draft here. And unsurprisingly, and I can't honestly believe I live in a world where I'm saying this, Kobe, Skarner will be first picked by FlyQuest. He has risen with the speed and force of a shooting star up to the top of the pick and ban list. So if he's open, he's almost immediately going to be picked. He is. Onda will be piloting.
You're really on this Star Guardian Skarner here. You keep dropping hints.
Subtle hints. I really want that. That would be cool. But on the other side, OpTic Gaming, they're going to respond with Braum and Sejuani, the Freljord special.
Freljord special packs a lot of crowd control. That's the best thing about the special. They stack up Stunt with 2 different passives.
The special is CC.
They have ultimates that also control. So there's definitely a lot of CC as well as tankiness already locked in from the OpTic side. Meanwhile, FlyQuest, very quick answers here. There's actually a hover over of the Caitlyn from OpTic, and FlyQuest don't want to mess around with that one. They seem to have hit a nerve there. So FlyQuest grab her up for the bottom lane for WildTurtle. He definitely has a long history on the champion. Actually, WildTurtle's first game in the North American LCS when he took Chaox's spot way back in.
Man, that's
going way back
name I haven't heard in a long
he
time.
Played Caitlyn, he got a pentakill, and that's your history fact of the day from Old Man Kobe.
Welcome to history class. It's in session. Your professor today taught a very quick lesson. And now we're back to Champion Select, where one of the best ways to deal with a couple big meatballs is some long-range, high-damage output champions, the Caitlyn, the Azir, like you mentioned. The response from OpTic Gaming, Arrow going to be once again breaking out that Draven.
And last time around, I was definitely in on the Draven pick. I was like, okay, this makes sense. Into Kalista, you know, short range is going to have the empowered autos. Yeah. But versus Caitlyn, Caitlyn typically, with the extra range, has been able to
try counter pick, right?
Try and poke at him, yeah. So I'm very interested to see what the Draven Braum lane can come up with here. Oftentimes, that will be a lane that goes for early plays, early kills because of the crowd control. So maybe it will be an Akaadian visit down there. Try and get some jungler support. Use the Freljord duo to try and cash in for Draven and give him this big gold lead that you'll want to get when you're stacking up your adoration.
Well, OpTic Gaming did choose to ban away 2 lifesaver type of supports from the side of FlyQuest. No Taric ultis this game, no Tahm Kench Devours, so a couple of tools that could be used to keep Turtle safe will not be available. FlyQuest instead focusing more on the solo lanes here. Victor and Camille both banned away.
Yeah, Camille definitely a high priority ban for a lot of teams in the current meta. Other than that, most of the tanks start to take over the top side. We do have Gangplank on the ban list as well, so top lane has been considerably whittled down, and I think that OpTic actually are pretty happy with that. They're saving their counter pick for Zig just in case, though, in case Flame's got any tricks up his sleeve.
Well, the lock.
Not a trick.
Yep, nope. Not a trick. It's just Gnar. We see a lot of Gnar these days. Janna, though, the pick for supporting WildTurtle. If you don't have those pick you up and carry you away in his belly of Tahm Kench, or the invulnerability of the Taric, you go back to one of the most established peel supports in the game.
Yeah, she definitely is established as a peel support. I love it with the composition. They have knockbacks with Azir and with Janna as far as keeping Caitlyn safe. However, in lane, I'm looking at that Janna as a kill target.
Oh,
the eyes get big. So Draven, Arrow here, LemonNation, they're probably going to call down Akaadian for some sort of support and look to get some kills there. Other than that, though, if Janna and Caitlyn can keep their range, if they get the time and they get to just poke you out, they keep their range, they play defensively, you don't get any hard engage flash plays on them, and that can definitely start to get annoying. They will poke you down. It's mostly about, will the enemy team be able to get that surprise play? Can they get the flash? Can they get the kill pressure? Because that will definitely start to snowball.
All right, we got another game with Sion in it too, so that's going to be fun to see if he can get any of those big ultis in there and make a huge impact in the team fights at the initiation. Man, there is plenty of CC potential on that OpTic roster, but at the same time, sometimes all you need is one good sting from Skarner to have all the CC you need to really get the fight and make things happen. On the side of FlyQuest, range is the name of the game. You've got the Gnar in the top lane, it's going to be so annoying. The Azir in the mid lane, especially once he gets going. Really difficult to deal with if ahead. Let's see how these two squads fare against each other. Again, both 3 and 6, very close in the standings, both still hanging out in that area where you could get yourself into playoffs if you have a good second half of the split. And part of that is beating these teams that you are in direct competition with.
Yeah, both these teams have had some struggles. They're very different. FlyQuest was rotating a lot of the roster. We had, Fly not over quite early enough, so they pulled up Keen from their academy team. They also pulled up JJ, as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, as the support role. But now it feels like they've settled on this. Anda in for the jungle, no more Shrimp. Fly in the mid lane for sure. And Stunt now gonna finish off the weekend for them. See if this final roster does actually settle down for them and can pull out one of these much needed victories and team tied in the standings. Meanwhile, OpTic Gaming keep talking about the hard work they're putting in. They're gonna outwork their opponents, and they have had some tough beats in these best of ones, really close games in the late game. But now it has been about this Draven recently for Arrow and trying to get him going early.
One thing I'm going to comment on immediately, we do see the Predator approach from Anda here on the Skarner. This is something that we've seen a few different players try out with the nerfs to Summoner Spellbook. It's not quite as appealing anymore, considering nobody's actually using it. Sometimes in solo queue, you'll see people take Ghost early on and switch to Flash later, but nobody does that in LCS. So just 15% isn't quite cutting it. The Predator is starting to seem to be a favorite.
Yeah, plus the nerfs to the rest of that tree. The utility tree also getting the stopwatch nerfs, the boots nerfs. Well, LemonNation taking some damage. There's your early poke, and that's the kind of annoying part of the lane that I talked about. Caitlyn, long range. Janna also can do a lot of damage with the W after the changes to this champion. She usually runs airy, and they can really force you off the minion waves, take control of the level game, and that's where they want to keep it. The team with the hard engage, though, the Draven and the Braum, they're the ones that want to switch it up with the jungler intervention, the flash plays to go for the kill.
You mentioned that jungler intervention even in Champion Select, and Akaadian somebody I'm going to keep my eye on, because sometimes it's something that you see, whether it's a Hashinshin thread or whatever on Reddit. People talk about like, oh, it's not actually between the laners, it's about which jungler gets involved more. And when you have one of these lanes that feels really abusive on the side of the more ranged champions, that jungler getting involved or not could decide the way that goes. So if Akaadian can make his moves towards bottom side, we'll have to see if he can get Arrow and LemonNation going. Top, Flame putting some damage here into Zig, who lays down the Decimate. Zig rocking that Glacial Augment on the Sion, so his active items as well as auto attacks gonna have a little extra slow effect. Yeah,
and a big part of that, if you haven't seen it, is right after he gets back up, the zombie Sion with the Glacial Augment. It's a huge slow on melee champions, and he can just get a lot of counter kills because he's so fast, and he basically perma-slows you. So watch out for that one. Once he dies, the danger's not over.
Got to make sure you're playing around that dead Sion properly. We've seen a couple of teams do that pretty well so far. Can FlyQuest do it too? They're going to have to if they want to make sure they're successful here. And moving over, stealing the enemy Krugs. We talked last game about how Krugs feel really bad to take. Krugs get an extra bonus feels bad man for Skarner because they're the only camp in the game you can't do with your Spire.
Yeah, but at least you can proc your E on a bunch of them and you get your like little moment of happiness when you
It's
get
not a big enough moment, still feels really bad.
Come on, I'm just trying to.
You will steal them away.
See the silver lining here with me, buddy.
All right. We gotta think positively. Yeah. We gotta always look for what's gonna be good about this situation. And for Flame, what's good about this situation is maintaining total control over this lane, keeping Zig very familiar with the sight of being underneath his own turret.
Yeah, unlucky overjump there, just out of range of the minion. Doesn't get that last hit. Meanwhile, Arrow's actually doing very well down here. Not taking too much of a CS deficit as they got poked under turret and they gave up control of the wave and the level lead and stuff, but just stacking up his adoration, still landing a decent amount of the last hits, and the junglers are actually colliding on the mini-map. As you see, the pings go down, so everybody's aware of both their positions. Just a little bit of the early warding trade.
Predator was actually used by Anda there as well. So he picked up the boots for himself and then used it as he ran in there, seeing Akaadian, wanted to make sure that that fight broke out. He had every possible advantage for it. Skarner's actually an incredible duelist if you fight him inside one of the Spire zones. So Akaadian wanted nothing to do with that, got himself away, goes back to his own side of the jungle, keep farming up those camps. FlyQuest has actually built themselves up a 500-600 gold lead, though, just early on in this game by farming better.
Yep.
And 5 minutes in, that's pretty substantial.
Yep, pushing the lanes a little bit here, a little bit of jungle. And speaking of the jungle, Onda's going to invade. He don't believe he completed the Spire, but he's still going to take the fight.
He still says, you're a Sejuani, I'm a Skarner that's flashing over the wall, but I'm still in some trouble. OpTic collapsing on this right now, and Onda goes too far into enemy territory, brought down.
I think they wanted to give that to Arrow so he could cash in.
Yeah.
But then a little bit too much health was left over there, so powerOfEvil says, I will take this, thank you very much. And that is also going to boost a Syndra towards the level 6, and she'll have more items when he goes back to base at that level 6. So it is very well spent as far as the gold going to the mid lane here. Well, he's just going to use that ult, I guess, for a little bit of lane pressure.
That's sending a message ult.
Yeah. Just want to test it out. How much damage is it going to do? Okay.
Okay, I got a feel for it now. Now, next time it's going to send him back to his base with a black and white screen. But Fly feeling comfortable right now. 48 CS to 45. Let's take another look at Onda's overextension here.
Yeah, so he's taking the Spire, then he panics, walks off of it, doesn't finish it. Blast Cone used by Akaadian is very good, and even though there's a level lead, he's got teammates. This is a team game, Mr. Flowers. And LemonNation and Arrow were early on the roam up, so they collect the first blood money for their team, even though their turret took some more hits. They lost a bit more CS, and you can start to see that manifesting itself here. 59, now 60 CS for WildTurtle on that Caitlyn now, and the lane pressure still theirs.
1-0, 10.3 to 10.4 thousand gold, so very close game between these two squads so far. Lane pushed up so incredibly here bottom side. FlyQuest could very easily take this first turret down here very soon, unless OpTic sends some kind of relief down here to help the bottom lane out, whether it be Akaadian, whether it be a teleport from Zig, or powerOfEvil rotating down. Something's got to happen here, because they're in some trouble.
And even if they do, all FlyQuest has to do is match. Here goes possible all-in, maybe if that Q had hit. Not going to follow it up, though, and Stunt gets out alive. Here comes some more tower damage, and here comes some more FlyQuest members.
Oh, the Predator's been activated. Onda's got the ulti. He's on the hunt. One more hit onto the turret's going to set things up. He goes for the Braum. LemonNation in some trouble here. No way out. Goes home with a death timer. Fly grabbing the kill for himself.
And we're seeing why the Caitlyn used to be so often picked into the Draven. This was Arrow choosing that one, but the Caitlyn Janna, that one's going to push down your turret. They get the first turret bonus gold. They also got the bonus kill on the support there.
Feels good, man.
Because OpTic Gaming did not respect the roam here. And you also got some value out of your Predator from Onda. Able to utilize that ultimate very effectively.
I want to keep an eye specifically on how Onda builds, too. We see a lot of Righteous Glories coming out from the Predator Skarners, so they can always have some kind of a go button no matter what's on cooldown. But it'll be a little bit longer before we can see that. Everybody's still starting to build those first items. Sion ulting back to lane. Chugga, 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 chugga. All right. Kicks that minion out into flame, finds a little bit of damage there. I still want to see a big, crazy Sion train wreck into multiple people.
Or conversely, I would like to see one miss completely and end up in the enemy turrets between tier 2, because that, to me, is one of the most hilarious things in the game that can happen.
Ah, I see. You, too, have been familiarized with Diamond 5 0 LP Sions.
Meanwhile, we have some control wards being now set up by OpTic Gaming. They've lost the bottom turret, but they don't want to give up control of the dragon area just yet. Now, one of the other big things about Skarner is the Spire right next to Dragon provides so much pressure, and they do still have that one. It makes it a lot easier to exert the will over this Dragon Vision. Zig takes a decent chunk here from Flame as he goes Mega.
Yeah, Flame just decided to use the ulti to trade there. You see Gnars do this quite frequently. Zig still eating more damage as those rocks get thrown out. Going to be stuck under his turret once again. But like you were saying, if Skarner's got control over the point and you have no vision there, it's incredibly easy for him to even solo the Drake once the jungle item is completed. So always have to be aware of that. If you're OpTic, you don't want to fall behind, start losing these neutral objectives too, considering you've already got a 1,500 gold deficit since your opponents have so much more control right now. Especially for Arrow on this Draven. No deaths yet, no kills yet. Really want to cash in before you end up getting picked off.
Yeah, it's tough though because WildTurtle has the early boots completion for extra mobility and attack speed here on Caitlyn. It goes a long way since the Janna shield, being leveled up here by Stunt provides a lot of that extra flat damage that he's going to make use of, and they just constantly push with it. Then they can retreat over to the Dragon Pit. He can lay down some of the early traps and try and force OpTic's hand.
powerOfEvil trying to get himself away from this one, but it's a flash into the ulti from Onda that should still seal his fate. Instead, it's going to be Fly who's brought down Onda. In some trouble now, the Draven ulti lending aid from far away. Akaadian also showing up in time. Big plays from OpTic Gaming.
Meanwhile, the bottom lane had to abort mission there as they run for their lives due to the skirmish in mid lane going the way of OpTic. No hesitation there from the OpTic duo. Akaadian ready and pounces on that counter gank, allowing powerOfEvil to just blast the Azir here, unloads with the ultimate, gets the full combo down, and the kill was so quick that there was no recourse here for FlyQuest. That's also going to mean the objective goes their way. Cloud Drake being started up right now, and they should be able to finish it.
Very good.
Mountain. They were standing on top of it.
By most counts. OpTic Gaming had quite a swing in momentum there. I mean, you got to respect FlyQuest for trying to make a play, but at the same time, you don't have a very tanky Skarner. I mean, you took domination and sorcery in terms of your runes. There's not a lot of defensive options there.
Also, as far as the execution of Skarner ganks early on, I don't love just immediately flashing in for the ult unless you're sure that it is going to be the 2v1 the whole time. It's going to be the pick. Much rather start off with the E, be able to layer some stuns, and you get a lot more effectiveness out because he pretty much blows everything early on. And the surprise factor there from Akaadian jumping in, we'll take a look here. Actually, it's not even a surprise factor. He was on a ward. So they knew Akaadian was on the way. Fly just eats that Sejuani ultimate. It doesn't matter right afterwards because powerOfEvil just press R on him and Akaadian finishes the kill. So that was some very quick work by the duo.
Plus, Arrow just throwing the ulti in there, making sure you grabbed a little bit of extra assist money. Trying to maybe cheekily steal away that cash in, but not today. Still behind substantially, about 30 CS down compared to the Caitlyn. WildTurtle, the man that FlyQuest is hoping will be able to carry this one, got himself that winning lane that, like you said, his opponent sort of picked himself into. A little bit strange for Arrow to opt into a matchup that's traditionally considered a counter like that. Push continues topside as Flame 126 CS to the 108 of Zig. Zig going that same build path that you saw from Sunday, rushing the Frozen Heart against Gnar. Gives him plenty of cooldowns as well as armor. Wallop finds him, Gnar finds him, his shield barely breaks. Welcome to Sion.
Welcome to Tap Line. Akaadian going to finish up the red, and there's a lot of vision cleaning to do actually on the side of OpTic because FlyQuest have done a pretty good job getting a lot of those wards in. You can see their dual lane moving up. They activate the Rift Herald. This should be, an intense siege right now because not only do they have the Rift Herald charge, which will take most of that turret's health, but they do have, WildTurtle gets a little chunk on the outside.
Well, Turtle getting found out by Arrow, also not finding the 90 caliber net onto his opponent means the slow's not there, the extra headshot isn't there. He has to get himself away, and Shelly is stopped. Turret intact.
Yeah, good dodge there by Arrow. You can use the Blood Rush for your extra speed to dodge out and turn the trade in your favor if you have that range already closed. Meanwhile, the turret barely stands. They finished off the Rift Herald, but she did get her charge off, and that means only a few more strikes would be able to topple this objective and start that outer ring of turret train that we've been talking about.
Well, barely is enough for now. FlyQuest passing the blue buff off to the mid laner who has his Nashor's Tooth completed, so he'll be able to spam plenty of soldiers in that mid lane trying to get those last few ticks of damage onto that turret there. LemonNation hanging around here too, clearing out some of the vision. And this game is close enough, Kobe, that vision's going to be super critical in determining the momentum and pace of this mid game, as one big pick could really set things in motion for either side.
Yeah, OpTic Gaming have a Syndra long-range stun, Sejuani ultimate, as well as Sion. 4 possibilities of locking people down if they are able to catch them off guard. Meanwhile, FlyQuest would like more standard fights. You know, they're farming up right now. Infinity Edge on Caitlyn. As soon as he gets some of those Zeal multipliers coming in, going to feel a lot better. And it's just going to be the Azir and Janna duty for disengage. Try and keep the DPS functional. Meanwhile, burst damage over here being stacked up. A lot of spheres.
Uh-oh, Honda. Oh, he's in some trouble. That's not something you want to face check. It's a lot of spheres. Holy moly.
Plenty enough to deal with a Skarner with no magic resistance.
Come on, man. He's got a Mercury Tread.
Is on cooldown there, all gray from the Predator.
Yeah, it's hard to tell sometimes, but OpTic now setting up shop on the enemy mid lane turret. Saying, all right, you got a shot at ours, we're going to take a shot at yours. We won't miss, though. They tie that turret count up 1-1. Gold only 100 apart between these two teams. Last game was close. This game is close. All these teams hanging around the same part of the standings are seriously competitive with one another for those lower playoff spots.
All right, what counter can FlyQuest manage here? They're trying to finish off the last few hits of that turret. They're just kind of dangling in front of them. No minions, though, to work with as powerOfEvil is able to clear out the rest of the wave. It looks like Arrow should be able to clean up his minions, but again, wave clear, gonna be tricky.
Here comes the push. There goes the turret, and FlyQuest grab themselves another objective. Take that gold lead back to almost 1,000 up over their opponents. On to capturing the Spire. And it's like what you mentioned earlier about the river. That just makes you second guess if you want to walk in there, because you know the Skarner's strong. So if they're all setting up there, it could be a bad place to go. They're not worried about it right now, though. Arrow just continuing to farm up here in the bottom lane. Still nowhere near the farm of WildTurtle, who now has quite a juicy wave to farm up.
Yeah, and they're also going to want to reset before this Drake. 44 seconds. There's still a little bit of time. Turtle can clear out this wave and then go purchase. Let's see. He's actually sitting on not that much gold. About 1,500 maybe after he clears another one. No, 1,200 there. So could actually pick up Zeal completion, which would be decently big. Goes back, gets it now. Yep, Zeal and the extra dagger. So that is going to be ready for this Infernal Drake. And you would want to set up a little earlier with the traps if you're FlyQuest side. Whereas OpTic Gaming definitely want to try and snowball, get that Infernal Drake passive for later. Top side, though, is definitely something to keep your eye on because Flame has had the push onto Zig on the Sion. So the pressure is there, and Zig's trying to clear out the minions right now.
Onda having been popped twice already by the Akaadian and powerOfEvil Wombo combo, buying the Spectre's Cal second. Not going to be going for that Righteous Glory Rush right after the Cinder Hulk, recognizing he needs the magic.
He's actually got a lot of magic.
Yeah, so now he heard you talking. He had to make sure that he corrected that.
Open your eyes, boy.
Akaadian, Arrow, LemonNation, working together to take down this Infernal Drake. It's going to be a nice damage boost here for OpTic. Gives them some scaling power as topside Turtle and Stunt saying, hey, you took the Infernal, we're going to take the top lane tier 1, objective trade. 3 turrets to 1 overall now. FlyQuest nearly at a 2,000 gold lead. Push continues as the minion wave going to be shoved underneath that turret.
Oh!
Fight bottom side though, Flame defending his red buff from the OpTic Gaming invaders.
Yeah, but he's got no smite. He's a top laner.
You're only going to defend it for so long. Akaadian steals it away. Flame tries to use the Mega Gnar to get away with something there, but it doesn't quite work out for him.
Yeah, he definitely was trying to flex a little bit. Meanwhile, top side, the push continues with the Caitlyn. Red buff here, full trap set up for Turtle. Feels pretty confident with his Skarner roaming up as well. Meanwhile, Flame attempt to pick him off, but he's able to walk away, keep his distance just barely there with Gnar.
Multiple members of both teams on opposite sides of the map. Tier 1 goes down there. Everybody's backing up from FlyQuest on the top side here too. Still a super close game. OpTic with the edge in terms of those Drakes, though. Another Infernal will be spawning next. So if they can continue picking up these high-value Drakes, they're going to have a distinct advantage as this game scales onward. It's going to put some pressure onto FlyQuest. Taking a look at where the items are, you can see your Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, 2-item spike coming in from WildTurtle. Not quite as exclamatory as the 3-item spike that we normally look at for these Caitlyn's and these Tristanas, but it does mean she will be a significant damage threat in a team fight if she gets some free firing time. Arrow, not quite as much money in his pocket, only the Infinity Edge.
Yeah, he doesn't have the money yet. He does have over 400 Adoration stacks, so he's still looking to cash in on those. Has been stacking them up all game long, and that would allow him to catch up to Turtle, but gonna have to secure a kill in order to cash in and get that money in your hands so you could actually purchase. Meanwhile, on the table, you know, Turtle already has that complete static shift, so feeling very good. We're about to enter the mid game here, so we should talk about, you know, the team comps and what they're looking to do. It's kind of classic disengage with backline DPS of FlyQuest and a little bit longer range versus the hard engage that OpTic are going for. A lot more burst damage on this OpTic side, so they're looking for the quicker kills, catching people out with their CC, and you got to keep your eyes open once you hear the horn of that Sion train coming through, because that could be the signal that things are coming your way.
OpTic need to pop somebody fast, and FlyQuest need to do everything in their power to make sure it's not their Azir or their Caitlyn. The longer this game goes on, the more ferocious those two champions are going to become. We know what they can both be in terms of just massive cannons for their team in the backline, firing away from such long distances that make it very difficult to deal with them. And I want to point out too, remember, we've seen with the rise of Skarner in the past couple of weeks, if you've got a big tank line, but one of your tanks is not respecting the pull, if they walk up too far and Skarner just drags them away from the rest of the team, if you've got Azir and Caitlyn, they can still bring them down. But now, the threat is on to Stunt, who's picked off immediately by Akaadian and LemonNation together.
Yeah, no hesitation there. Another very quick flash from Akaadian finishes that one off. They have vision control around Baron too. This is a dangerous time to be giving up picks like that. The support instantly killed. That was one of the drawbacks we listed of Janna. Even though you can get the annoying range harassment, if you get flashed on, if you get full hard engaged on, they just locked her up, and the extra kill money is going to go a long way. The extra tower pressure is also going a decent way here. Not able to finish it off there for OpTic Gaming, but they still have members around.
Like Donda's decision to walk up there with the sweeper on, prevented himself from face checking that brush with Akaadian and LemonNation waiting. Arrow pushing up top side, getting that turret a little bit low, but not sealing the deal just yet. QSS completed for powerOfEvil on the side of OpTic, and I really want to point this out because we talk about with Malzahar in the meta for as long as he was, the QSS was paying the Malzahar tax, but with Skarner making his rotation, different purple champion, similar theme, you've still got to pay the tax, and powerOfEvil is just eliminating one of those options because Onda wants him or the Draven, right? So if you just get a QSS on both of those guys, suddenly the job for the Skarner becomes a lot harder. I really like this pickup from powerOfEvil.
And I have to say, building a QSS versus Skarner feels a lot better even than it did building it against Malzahar, because if the Skarner's going full tank, then without the ultimate,
he's useless.
He just kind of sits there.
He's big melee minion. He's even purple.
Yeah, just stomp on that Scorpion, and the threat is mostly gone. So we'll see if he gets any use out of it. You do have to continually check the inventories when you're playing a champion like that. It's a habit you kind of have to build.
Oh, yeah.
And we've seen people in the LCS so far. I forget who it was today. Maybe Lyra or something went for a flash play onto a carry that had just purchased the QSS, and feels a little bit bad, but you know, they were ahead already. Anyways, control wards though have been stacked up, and OpTic trying to use the fog of war. It's always to the advantage
there's
of
your
the
horn.
engage.
Ah, Zig can't find anybody that time. He goes for it though. I can respect that. Trying to make something happen here. Frozen Heart and Adaptive Helm means he's got 30% cooldown reduction as well, so that ultimate, now that it is level 2, does only have a 65-second cooldown. Sion ult is actually really, really low in terms of the cooldown time compared to most ultimates.
Yep. Just refuel here in the side lane. He's just going to try and farm up, and it'll be ready, not quite for the Infernal Drake, but if they delay them around the Infernal Drake, maybe they could delay for long enough. That being said, they have other forms of hard engage as well. We already mentioned this Sejuani, as well as the Syndra stuns can start them out. See if it happens though. Funneling through the jungle corridor could also be dangerous for OpTic Gaming. Caitlyn traps are already laid down, and the Infernal Drake is here.
FlyQuest going for it immediately, forcing OpTic to come in, try to answer this one. Akaadian into the pit, fields it away. Well done by the OpTic jungler. He'll pay for it with his life, but if the rest of the team can get away, you'll call that worth. LemonNation targeted now by the Caitlyn from WildTurtle. OpTic back out.
Even with the Predator, they're not able to chase anyone else down. That was a pretty big steal. If OpTic can keep FlyQuest from getting anything out of Baron pressure in a 5 vs 4 scenario. I think it was a very early smite from Onda, but in the meantime, they're going to start it up.
Sion ulti's back. OpTic have the potential to try to stop this. Baron already down to 2,000. It's likely going to be secured right here. Onda gets this one, and that objective is worth so much more. Baron to FlyQuest.
All right, FlyQuest are able to capitalize on the kill they got. Even though the Infernal Drake was stolen, Baron is definitely going to trump that, especially for this team with the scaling DPS of Azir and Caitlyn. Backline is pretty much fully operational. They're ready to siege with this Baron buff right now.
That is scary, and it's really well executed from FlyQuest. I love them seeing, okay, we were in a bad trade, let's make it a good trade.
Ah, dang. Well, let's turn these lemons into lemonade. Here we go, though. This is the lemon being handed over. Akaadian goes in. It's a pretty early smite, you know, gets down to 280 there, and then Akaadian picks it up. But you drag him right onto a Caitlyn trap there. Well placed from Onda as well as WildTurtle to get the CC chain and guarantee a easy kill on Akaadian after he takes the Infernal. Now it's up to OpTic to try and stall, whereas FlyQuest really want to get multiple turrets off of this buff.
All right, we've got a 1-2-1 with Skarner floating around between two of those lanes, seeing if maybe there's a pull to set up anywhere. Keeping your solo laners in those side lanes. Janna and Caitlyn mid, very hard to engage on those. Onda still just looking for any opportunity to use that Predator here when it comes off cooldown in a couple of seconds. FlyQuest really want to get as much as they can off of this Baron. I mentioned earlier this game was so close that any edge that a team could find could end up determining the pace and momentum of the game for a while, and FlyQuest have found that for themselves now. 5,000 gold in the lead as Fly breaks the bottom lane tier 2, brings them up to a 4 turret count compared to their opponent's 2, and now the rest of the team going to be rotating towards mid to try to grab their 5th. Flame still setting up shop in the top lane.
And the longer this game goes, the more difficult it is to break through to the FlyQuest backline. The Fortress team comp here that they've built up with Janna disengaged, Azir disengaged, a couple of tanky frontliners there becomes very, very difficult to crack. You can see all the visions already being starved out. OpTic Gaming wards are expiring on the map. All the secondary turrets are being taken down, and the defenses slowly but surely are just drifting away.
You can see the vision score comparison on your screen over the players' trinkets. Very similar for top lane, mid lane, AD carry. There's an edge in the support role by 20 for LemonNation, but look at the jungle. 94 for Onda, 64 for Akaadian. Onda putting in a lot of work this game to make sure that his team has the vision advantages they need. Vision being one of the most effective ways at snowballing a lead and making sure your opponents can't find a way back into the game. I really like the fact that he's focusing on it this hard, especially when he's playing that pure tank build, kind of like what you talked about. If your opponents build a QSS, it makes it so you're trying to find ways to still be effective in the game, and setting up that sort of recon for your team is one way to do it.
The classic meatball with wards. On the top side, though, Fly is actually going hard on Zig here.
Tries to make the moves happen, gets the flash out of that tanky top laner.
The ult was
Onda
used.
shows up here, pulls him right back. Turtle chimes in just to have his say. Fly grabs himself the kill. Onda running away. Doesn't want to get turned into a lobster bisque by a zombie. Nope.
Yeah.
He's fine.
All right, now it's going to be a power play. The Baron buff will time out, but okay, Death Rush being set up here. Are they going to get round 2?
All right, Akaadian saying this is the guy we're going to pull the trigger on. Finds the stun, plenty of CC. Arrow cashing in. Finally, those stacks of adoration. 3,000 gold in the inventory.
Onda's going to have nightmares anytime he walks by any brush. Like, oh god, are there 5 Syndra balls stacked up? Oh, there's 5 people in there.
This team has 6 deaths total, and 4 of them are Onda because he keeps being the guy who unfortunately walks by the 5-man death brush. Akaadian and the rest of OpTic will go back to
Gotta look both ways before you cross the brush, Captain Flowers.
We've got lots of traffic and just general driving and walking across the street references today. I can appreciate that. LemonNation clearing out some of those traps there in the mid lane. Caitlyn really effective at creating those zones of control around both neutral objectives, like you mentioned earlier with the Drake pit, as well as just setting up the siege there in the lanes. OpTic still finding themselves down 4,500 gold, despite the pickup, despite the adoration cash-in they got for their carry. Ace in the hole, just to be annoying. powerOfEvil backing himself away. Next Drake is Ocean, spawning here in 40 seconds or so. OpTic have themselves 3 Drakes. A 4th would feel real nice and set them up for an Elder Drake win condition.
Plus, they don't want to have to deal with this long-range siege anymore. I mean, the Caitlyn Azir outranges them on these turrets. They're slowly going to whittle away. They're slowly going to lose more and more gold, more and more territory. So they got to kind of pull the initiation out of one of these brush, out of the fog of war somewhere, get the jump on FlyQuest to make this composition start to crumble. You know, figure out a way to get inside the cracks here and past that front line.
At the same time, looking at neutral objectives, looking at ways to break your opponent's plan. You've got Baron coming up, 90 seconds. That's so effective on a team with an Azir and a Caitlyn, man. That's scary. FlyQuest starting up the Drake now for themselves. OpTic. Kobe, I feel like OpTic have just been relegated to defensive duty. Ever since that first Baron was taken, these guys have shifted into a purely defensive mindset. You're not seeing any attempts at making things happen. They're just content seemingly holding their ground, trying to ward up their own jungle and staunch the siege.
Yeah, it's a very difficult situation to be in where the other team is controlling vision so well, but your way back in the game is through a surprise play. So a lot of those options being limited and no real opportunity as they continue to bleed away control. FlyQuest very happy with the progression of this game. Turns out the Infernal Drake getting stolen was the best thing to happen to him. Let's go up there, grab the Baron instead. And now they've got the control. They're the ones in the driver's seat, and the drivers should be moving straight up to siege once again. They have to worry about any sort of flanks, though. This is a level 16 Sion, and the ultimates are definitely ready here for OpTic to actually find someone out of position.
FlyQuest making it ever harder to find them out of position, though. You've got your Maw of Malmortius completed now. 4th item on the Caitlyn. Banshee's Veil on that Azir means you've got to pop that before you can even hope to initiate onto him.
I really do like the itemization. Here we go.
Oh, Turtle getting himself caught out, tries to get away, does survive for now. Stunt going to be taken down first. Akaadian drops, though, as well. Fly looking to chase this down even further. OpTic, multiple members on the run. There's so much damage output here from FlyQuest. Massive Mega Gnar from Flame going to send 2 to their face as Arrow and powerOfEvil, the last men standing, trying to get away. Zig's body counts as half a man standing, but it won't be up for long. powerOfEvil going to be crit there down to 1/3 of his HP. FlyQuest moving over to Baron.
Yeah, that should be the objective afterwards, unless powerOfEvil makes a very risky play to walk near and try and steal it with a QE or something like that. He probably should not do
I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one.
But FlyQuest, that just goes to show how strong of a comp they have at this stage of the game with this big lead. OpTic Gaming, they found their little opening. You know, they found one of the cracks right to a carry. They got the initiation on the turtle, but he uses all his summoners, and the support here sacrifices himself to save turtle. Janna goes in, stunt, ultimate, and as long as he keeps turtle and fly alive, then it's an easy chase down for the rest of the FlyQuest members. Flame coming up with a really big secondary engage there on the Gnar, and then also has his leftover stopwatch, I believe, there for that last immunity.
And it wasn't just Turtle's summoner spells, it was the Mikhail's Crucible from Stunt that helped him escape that CC too. So big purchase from the support, doing what every carry dreams their support will do, lay his life down for that of his friend. FlyQuest once again setting themselves up for success, setting themselves up for control.
Well.
Got a Baron buff. Zig, okay, there you go, Kobe. There's your Sion ulti into the wall. Not quite finding anything. Stunt getting himself away, onto Stunned up. Again, the Skarner, the target. OpTic take him down. powerOfEvil on a rampage with that kill.
It's hard to navigate corners with that Sion, but they do find the pick anyways. They corner off another. Onda does go down, and they do have now 5 versus 4, but Turtle with this Baron buff, pressures on top side. Wow Flame on the Gnar is still pushing bottom.
Zig will move up to try to stop Turtle. He does have the Sion ulti on a 39-second cooldown, so it's just about up again and ready to go. He can use that to charge through the trap line, just like you're seeing here. Right towards WildTurtle, finds the stun, into yet another stun, into a winner's fight. That is all she wrote. Unstoppable for powerOfEvil. But even though you can't stop him, you can't stop Flame from taking his turret either. Inhibitor turret number 1 goes down. Arrow looking for some more auto attacks onto Fly as Flame backs himself away. Guardian Angel is armed and ready. Not in any real danger here.
Yeah, that was a conscious choice by FlyQuest. Even though they had lost a member, they wanted to get value out of the Baron buff. They wanted to get inside the inhibitor line here. So with mid lane heavily weakened and bottom lane turret actually gone, FlyQuest now do have a way to end out this game with continued press, even though they had a couple of picks there. So Turtle sacrificed in order for Flame to get the bottom inhibitor turret. And now OpTic Gaming trying to find some area to work with. Again, we keep mentioning how important the vision is for them to find those picks. The Deathbrush have been semi-successful in at least getting the picks. At this stage in the game, they would be able to take more than just the couple of kills that they gotten with those picks and try and turn it into something bigger.
You know, I want to give credit to OpTic's carries here as well. If you look at powerOfEvil and you look at Arrow, look at the score lines, 0 deaths between them. These two have done a wonderful job of keeping themselves away from the danger posed to them by not only the damage from the enemy carries, but the initiation potential from both the Skarner and the Gnar. So despite how far behind they feel in terms of the momentum of the game, they have done well on a micro level, positioning in the fights, making sure they're where they need to be, being a part of the overall plan. 7 out of 9 kill participation for the mid laner, 6 for that AD carry, but FlyQuest looking to put a death on them yet. Good Lord, man, that damage.
And that's probably going to mean this Elder Dragon will be very dangerous for OpTic to go for. Arrow's trying to lifesteal off the Raptors right now, and he got a decent amount of health back. He's still missing a large chunk, but FlyQuest don't have to rush anything. They're scaling quite nicely here. Not only is Azir a monster in the late game, but the Syndra, as you pointed out, has to pay the Skarner tax with this QSS, and the QSS is only going to turn into a sword, which you can't very effectively use.
Don't use swords. I've played video games. Elder Drake just absolutely melted by Azir and Skarner together. That objective, not too difficult to take when you've got a 5.5 item Azir. Skarner tanking it up, making it so Azir's not under any threat either, always helps. Randuin's Omen on Onda, something I want to point out is it's different from what you're seeing a lot of the time with these Dead Man's Plates on Skarner. Dead Man's Plate better for playmaking, better for allowing you to grab that critical pull, but Randuin's Omen significantly better for actually tanking up in the middle of the fight.
And I think it's significantly better after the enemy carries both have QSS, right? Your speed from the Dead Man's Plate is all about getting that pull onto one of the carries rather than having to ult one of the tanks. And now he just wants the survivability to try and live through Draven crits. You just kind of sit there, take hits.
I respect it. I think it's a good choice here in this situation. This FlyQuest, once again, pushing up in this mid lane. They've got an exposed inhibitor bottom, but they want to try to put the last couple of hits into this inhib turret mid lane instead. They've got a 9,000 gold lead. They've got the Elder Dragon burning away. They think they should have the damage to break this one open, but can they execute? OpTic still has plenty of engage potential here between Zig and Akaadian. Sion's a unique champion in that he really can shut down that trap wall from Caitlyn, still engage through it like most other champions struggle to do. But don't you think FlyQuest is going to make it easy for him?
Yeah, and then you run into the problem where the rest of your team still can struggle getting over it behind you to follow up with some damage on your initiation. Here we go though, turret very low, and FlyQuest taking another chunk out of it.
All right, one more big hit from Caitlyn should do it, but Turtle doesn't want to step up too far on this one, especially when Flame's just being given free firing time onto the bottom lane inhibitor itself. Turtle gets the last auto attack into that mid lane inhib, and now it's a two-pronged attack in the OpTic Gaming base. Flame continuing to auto attack into that bottom lane inhibitor. Onda and the rest of Fly just positioning themselves further forward, making sure they seem threatening. Now Flame can rotate over. A couple of auto attacks from Turtle take Arrow down to half HP, and all of a sudden the prospect of a fight doesn't seem promising at all for OpTic, at least until Arrow can heal back up off of these minions. Rotation toward the top side. Nice pick there by powerOfEvil, finding Stunt. Back to what you said, Kobe. The Janna, very effective at peeling for others. Sometimes can't peel for herself.
Can't peel a one-shot, and he gets stunned up and taken down. That is going to buy a tiny bit of breathing room, but FlyQuest still with an insane grip on this game. 10 seconds left on the Baron, but even though they killed the support, OpTic had no business heading over to that side of the map. They just have to try and push out the super minions as far as they can so they can get a little bit of breathing room.
Braum going to be spotted out there. Lemon and Arrow making their way over towards that Baron pit. Try to secure vision while they have a chance, but FlyQuest has many members in mid lane still are trying to rush to the Baron.
They decided they have no other options, but FlyQuest are going straight for the Nexus.
FlyQuest say, all right, you want Baron? We're just going to take the base instead. Flame and Onda onto the Nexus turrets, deciding to make the pull happen onto Zig. OpTic have retreated. They decided to go for the fight here. Draven ulti comes down. Onda going to be caught out. More damage onto him. Once again, taken down. The Skarner Fly running away. Turtle as well. Akaadian over the wall. Finds the lockdown onto Fly. Flash away. Still getting himself out for now. Shuffles that enemy jungler backwards. OpTic still seeing if they can do anything here, but the counterattack begins. You've got the damage, you've got the range. WildTurtle bringing the pain here onto the OpTic Gaming front line. They pop the Guardian Angel for Flame. He's going to be resurrecting in just a moment. Gnar is full. powerOfEvil taking down Stunt yet again. The gameplay button has been pressed.
But again, the minions during that fight did a lot of damage to the Nexus turret, and OpTic Gaming are running out of resources here. Baron is still available, so FlyQuest, after they get their jungler back and support revived, could easily return to this area of the map. OpTic Gaming, though, again, they just thinking one step at a time right now. Every little victory here buys them a bit more time to try and come up with that big play. Now, their risk tolerance is risen to the roof because there are so few options for them. They're willing to go for it. They're going to rush down this Baron. Should be able to get it as well.
Never say die. Go for something, because you know just sitting and waiting is a guaranteed loss. OpTic grab themselves Baron and buy themselves a bit more time here in this game. The defense will continue. This is deja vu, Kobe. The defense into your opponent's seemingly endless control.
Here's another look at FlyQuest. They answered the posturing around Baron of OpTic with some pressure onto the Nexus, but then OpTic, again, they're the team with all the engage. This is the hard engage versus the disengage here, and they were able to catch them in a scramble, get one kill. However, in this extended chase through the corridor, they then delay a lot, and FlyQuest are able to harrier them on the way out, allowing the minions time to weaken the Nexus turret there, just kind of keeping them around a little bit. Guardian Angel gets popped there for Flame, and then powerOfEvil over the wall, stacking up a couple more spears, finds Stunt once again with the ultimate, and is able to get another kill for the team.
All four carries this game, Kobe, are full build. Turtle so far full build that he's actually gone ahead and sold the boots. And that means that every other person in the game, including the other two carries on the enemy team, can be killed in the blink of an eye. You make one misstep, you are dead. This game is balancing on a knife's edge.
Like this play from OpTic, they don't have time, so they're going for the only opening they got.
Pop the Banshee's Veil first. That's what's got to be done. Fly gets himself over the wall, though.
Well, swing and a miss.
Yep, a good attempt. But now, FlyQuest get their counterattack opportunity here in the bottom lane, pushing onto Nexus turret number 1. Flame will take that one down. Zig firing off the ulti, looking to find Flame on that one. Flash away, keeps the little Yordle alive. OpTic, 2 inhibitors down. The third about to be exposed if FlyQuest have their way. LemonNation moves into position just in time to protect it. 2 more Turtle auto attacks, likely enough to take that one down. More shields from Stunt as Turtle makes his way through the enemy jungle, making sure they can keep that valuable carry alive. 498 farm in 43 minutes on Turtle's Caitlyn. The man has an absolutely insane gold value. Problem is, once you're at 6 items like this, no boots, not really going to do a lot for you. Not anymore. Flame over the wall, keeping himself safe from Zig yet again. On the top side, just... That's fun to do. Just use your shield, tank a couple turret shots.
He's like, your turret may still be standing, but it doesn't do any damage to me.
Very scary on the Skarner right now. Very tanky. Still having the opportunity to pull anybody that overextends. You do have Mercurial Scimitar on both your Syndra and your Draven. Like you said, that Skarner tax feels really bad for the Syndra right now. Happen to have that item that effectively does nothing for her damage output in a game where she wants to be able to guarantee the one hit onto either of those enemy carries.
All right, let's see how OpTic can band together. Because FlyQuest know they have time on their side. That's why they're taking this one so slowly. They don't have to rush into it. Got them pinned up. They're not going to get any stronger. As you said, Syndra can't fit any more items in. And there's no more DPS going to come through. So they just continue to strangle out any of the extra resources here, closing in the vision on both sides of the jungle.
OpTic know that their carries can't get any stronger, but maybe the front line can. Granted, you're up against a 6-item Caitlyn, 6-item Azir, so an extra tank item maybe means you survive 2 more auto attacks, but those 2 auto attacks could be what you need to walk out with a win here. For OpTic, considering every fight for the past, what, I don't know, 20 minutes has been in or around their base, one big catastrophic loss is the end of the game. Your opponents are already knocking at the door. You've got to make sure that everything from this point on is flawless or at least even enough to hold the line. They dropped some wards in their own territory, trying to just keep an eye on everything. FlyQuest playing it so slow, so steady. Elder Drake spawning in under 90 seconds now. That could be the win condition FlyQuest is waiting for, but we'll have to see if that's what they opt into. They do only have 1 Drake for themselves, so the burn isn't a huge bonus, but you're keeping it out of the hands of your opponents, and you're giving yourself that extra little edge that just might be enough. Honda will continue on vision clearing duty. I talked about his vision score earlier, comparing it to Akaadian's. He's now up to 179, which is the most in the game, and of course a big part of that is zombie wards. Those inflate the vision score quite a lot, but still an impressive amount of vision control coming from the FlyQuest jungler.
Well, Gathering Storm is also taking a pretty big effect now, as both OpTic carries do have it. Turtle also is running it.
That means that's 2 Gathering Storms to 1. There's a Storm advantage over for OpTic Gaming. Remember, Gathering Storm ticks every 10 minutes on that 10-minute mark. So slightly under 4 minutes from now, you are going to see another big damage boost for powerOfEvil, Arrow, and Turtle.
Yeah.
Could be something that OpTic is hoping.
It's moments like these where Fly on Azir, he took Scorch. It's moments like these where you're like, I should have took Gathering Storm.
Like, that feels pretty bad. FlyQuest pushing up the mid lane, though. They've got themselves the Azir turret to protect themselves under. Raising that one at the tier 1 site. Zig going to be forced back from the Gnar. Flame wants to put auto attack.
Taking down the turret.
He
He's got
doesn't
1.
even care.
He's got 2. He's moving around the outside.
Keep on count. Keep on count. Tries to jump over the wall. And nope. All right. Wait. Is he stuck? Is he stuck?
2 versus 1. He's got him against the wall. He's down. He's going to get back up.
He's going to get up, but it doesn't matter. FlyQuest have got the Elder Drake for themselves, but their little prehistoric Yordle is history.
I'm sure Flame is not happy with that trade. It's just a late game Drake over there, but it does feel bad to lose your GA. Here's the initiation onto Turtle, actually.
Feel even worse to lose your AD carry. Thing is, Stunt again going to be there on that Mikhail's Crucible, keeping his team safe, but now he's once more the sacrificial lamb. powerOfEvil grabbing a legendary spree off of that. OpTic now has 5v3 for 30 seconds.
OpTic may be trapped, but they are making a hard fight here. And powerOfEvil goes for
powerOfEvil deletes him! The power of the Syndra. I don't give a damn if he has a Mercurial Scimitar. He's still got the damage he needs.
OpTic Gaming are just willing their way out of this corner right now. They make the pick on the Flame. They gave up the Elder Dragon, didn't even care because they're taking down the kills, and now they've got a death timer to work with on Turtle. 44 seconds left. They're looking to finish.
You've still got to break through Fly's Azir. He's got to hold the line here, though. OpTic pushing up. They've got 5 men strong. powerOfEvil going to be taken low. LemonNation low now as well. Zig teleporting into the fight, going to drop the Decimate. Interrupted by Onda. Flame still looking to defend on this one too. OpTic still trying to end this game. Locket of the Iron Solari will protect the rest of the team. Fly continues dealing the damage, but now it's Flame into the back line, and the counterattack has been realized. Fly cuts him to pieces. Arrow's gonna be taken down. The depth is so low, but so far away. A triple kill for FlyQuest. They ace OpTic Gaming.
Oh man, OpTic they played so hard to get out of that end game. They picked off the top lane, it ran down the middle, got another pick, 2 more. powerOfEvil flashed in, but in the end, They were a couple autos short of finishing off that Nexus, and now FlyQuest will be able to run it back. What an ending to this game. So much fight there left in OpTic, but in the end, FlyQuest are going to be able to move up the standings.
After last game, I figured that would be the best ending of the day. Then they gave us this. Truly an effort from OpTic Gaming. What a defense, but FlyQuest, 49 minutes in, will claim their win here today. OpTic came closer than I think anyone expected after seeing how that game had played out for the past 30 minutes to winning that game. Like you said, that was 1-2 auto attacks away, depending on who hit it, from going down. What a counterattack, what a push. I love the fact that they were willing to go for it. I love the fact that this team was willing to risk their Nexus turrets for a Baron because they knew they couldn't give another one up. I love that attitude when you're playing from behind to just go for it because you can't sit there and wait. But FlyQuest controlled the game well ever since they got that first Baron. Like you said, the blessing in disguise of losing the Infernal Drake. They had such control, and they just strangled OpTic out of the game for the most part.
Definitely a close one to end out the day on. And past the halfway point here now with the North American LCS as we come to a close for this week. Congratulations there to FlyQuest, moving up the standings, getting that win and that separation that is very important on that borderline of the playoffs cutoff.
Especially, like I said earlier, how close both of these last two games today were. We had 4 teams that are all sitting around a very similar scoreline right now. And the contests between them showed why those scorelines are so close, because they seem so evenly matched. Every win could be the difference between going to the playoffs and watching from home.
Yeah, Stunt there. I'm glad he can laugh about now getting one shot over and over by Syndra. He's like, I mean, at that stage, you just got me again over the wall.
What am I supposed to do?
That's the life of the support. It kind of takes me back to like a couple years ago, you know, where it was the support Zyra's running around, Syndra was meta, and just one-shot supports were happening. That was the norm. Now everybody's playing the tank supports, and we don't get to see it as often. But
yeah, they don't quite get
that nice
frequently.
touch.
But
yeah.
Once Syndra comes back, I mean, you start to see things
Most
like
people
this.
like to see a Janna getting one shot.
A
lot of people enjoy that.
It's a montage that a lot of people would like to tune into. I can respect that, but popping the Janna over and over again, and then at the end, making the flash to PopTurtle that almost set up the win for OpTic Gaming. It was a crazy effort from them, but now we're going to send things down to Ovely and FlyQuest support.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Stunt. What an amazing end to that game. In times like that, how do you keep your composure?
You don't. You use the adrenaline and use it to fuel playmaking and shot calling, and the rotations just really matter near the end of the game.
Wonderful. And we didn't get to see you yesterday, but today you came in, you looked confident. How does it feel to be back in the LCS?
Pretty good. Yeah. Today the draft was pretty revolving around our bot lane picks, the Caitlyn, Janna, and the team put a lot of confidence into me to like execute that pick at the first tower and get those early objectives. And so I felt a lot of responsibility to make this game like work out.
A little bit on the team dynamics. What do you think are the, if any, benefits of having a substitute?
Benefits, you feel kind of pressured in your role. So for some people that could make them want to work harder and be at their full potential. So that's a benefit. And also if there's champion pool differences, you know, you could have one person like really good at carries, for example, and one person good at tanks, you know. Those are some good benefits.
Now working towards your full potential, what goals do you have for yourself for the rest of the split?
We want to make playoffs. And this game was really important towards having any kind of shot at it. So I'm really happy that we won.
Well, congratulations again on that win, Stunt. And to wrap up the day, let's hear it from the guys at the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Avali. We heard it from Stunt there at those late game, nail-biting team fights. There's no composure. It's adrenaline-based shot calling and reactive movements at best.
The last two games today as well all came down to split-second decisions.
So before we even attempt to break this one down, I just want to take another look at that crazy ending. The base defense mounted by FlyQuest to put together the final victory of Week 5 and moving to 4-6.
This was such a close game. I kind of respect OpTic deciding, like, it's do or die here. We don't want to reset a couple more times and deal with Flame split pushing, so they try and end the game here. And things are looking all right. It's a little unfortunate that Zig had previously used his ultimate to kind of chase down before, and then he just gets pulled into the turrets and focused down. And eventually Flame's going to hit Mega and jump in, and that's one of the key parts of this defense.
Missed Sej ultimate, even though Fly had cleanse. He's able to use the cleanse on the stun, because basically, remember, Turtle's dead. So Fly's the only real damage dealer. Mega Gnar is huge to be able to get powerOfEvil, but also the fact that they cleared the minions early, and then a near save by Herald there as he got ulted away from FlyQuest. When we were watching it live, we thought it was going to be the zombie Sion killing.
Right, it was in all the messiness. It was hard to tell whether or not that was zombie Sion or the Sion in actuality. And you could see the heartbreak on the faces of the OpTic Gaming squad, because as you said, that is one of those stabs at victories after some pretty big playmaking from the side of someone like powerOfEvil. And we'll get to that in just a moment. Before we do, there was one piece of criticism I know he wanted to throw. Yesterday, we had an interview with Arrow in which he was very vocal about the pick that he chose for himself yesterday in the Draven. It made its appearance again today. Let's take a look at what his thoughts were on this pick.
Thank you. I'm happy with this winning my Draven. Yeah, really happy.
Did you come in today thinking, I'm going to play Draven?
Yes, for sure. 100%.
She said 100%.
Yeah.
And
carried over to today, too, I think.
yeah, maybe FlyQuest listened to that and said, well, let's just take early Caitlyn, and then he picks Draven into it. One of the biggest counter picks to Draven is Caitlyn, and this is one of those times where if you cast your mind way back to a couple interviews with Zabutin early in the split, he was talking about his coaching style being very like, whatever the players want, that's pretty much what they're going to get. And this is a time where you probably should have stepped up and said no, because this whole early game was dictated off the fact that they got blasted in lane and lost their turret early on.
Yeah, they pick Varus in this game, and they probably win, because they don't fall 100 CS down and have that supercharged Caitlyn with the Janna that early on in the game. Because, as you mentioned, I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword, too, because Syndra is kind of a powerOfEvil pick that a lot of people aren't pulling out. And he nearly solo carried the game with it, which is what you're hoping that Arrow is going to do on Draven. It's just not the case.
His only death was in that final team fight around the Nexus here for powerOfEvil.
And it's worth noting that he was the single reason why FlyQuest couldn't close that game out earlier. He found Stunt a couple of times. He found a couple other people. Great mid 2v2 as Fly had not actually built the Merc Treads first, which most Azirs do in that matchup, so he gets popped really easily in these skirmishes. And then, yeah, powerOfEvil now is a 2-0-1. He has an Infernal Dragon ticking, and they just completely play around him the entire game.
Yeah, really good brush camps, constantly stacking. And this play was insane. He uses the Merc Scimitar, pays off, lands the flash alt WE.
Through the Mob Malmortius, too,
So powerOfEvil did everything humanly possible probably in that situation to win his team that game, but he was
still lost.
He was playing with such deficits because he had two losing side lanes. When they had counter pick in the bot lane, they did not need to let that happen. Like you said, Varus works well with that team comp as well because you have extra pick tools. It was just a little sad to see them so hard stuck on that Draven for not really a great reason.
Some criticism levied for that pick, but on the flip side, as Stunt brought up, the entire team comp revolved around that Caitlyn Janna, making sure that they were taking those turrets early, opening up the map, and we saw the prowess of the siege potential in the late game map control with the inhibs down, made it that much harder for OpTic to find their avenues to victory.
Yeah, Flame had some pretty heady split pushing as well, escaping Sion ult after Sion ult. He also was over 100 CS up on his opponent.
How you guys feeling about Sion as a pick right now?
Looking a little like a dud for the highest
1 and 2 on the day, right? 1
Yeah.
and 2 on the day?
Yeah, I mean, you can clearly see people found success with it in Gnar, because that's all of the situations in which it was picked, and that was when Camille was banned out. So I think when we switch patches in 2 weeks, it's going to change again. I think we're going to keep seeing Sion, actually, because it does neutralize okay, and it's still a big tank.
Yeah, I want to see a little more of it. Maybe in scrims where it's a little bloodier, people don't track things as well. The ult is more effective at engaging on fights, and here in the more controlled environment, it doesn't happen as often.
The last thing to talk about here is that the 4 and 6 FlyQuest had put in Stunt again today, and although I know he was the target of a lot of those picks, which extended the game, Jat, you were pretty vocal about thinking that FlyQuest looks better when he's in as opposed to JJ.
Yeah, especially when they have Fly in the game as well, because Fly likes to rotate around a lot of lanes, and I think Stunt is a really strong laner. I think his map play is a little bit questionable at times. You could see it looked like he wasn't really tracking Syndra when he got picked out, but he's really solid in lane, especially when they draft for him that way, and I think it's a way they can find success.
All right, FlyQuest 4 and 6, OpTic to 3 and 7. As we wrap up the day, let's see how the teams rank among one another. EchoFox sit alone at first at 9 and 1, while Cloud9 slipped to second. Clutch and their 2-0 week in a tie for third with Team Liquid, and dropping into a tie for 8th place is Logic Gaming and OpTic. This will bring us to your guys' predictions for the day. Mark,
I saved us.
I don't know about that.
No, I did. Believe me, if I stayed FlyQuest, that last-second base push defense,
it would have ended in favor of OpTic.
OpTic would have won. We'd be 0-5. And luckily, I took the bullet for Jat, so he could go up 2 wins over me.
Mark.
Yeah, anytime.
We now have 2 objects that have been 0-5 in a day.
Right,
Mark
one is Mark.
and a coin. So,
hey,
luckily I haven't done that yet.
You've been relegated to an inanimate object.
We're a unit here, and I really helped Jad out today. Support lifestyle.
Crazy day, though. I mean, if OpTic would have won that game,
Which is close.
then every matchup would have been decided by who has been in the LCS for less time, right? All the younger teams, aside from that last game, won. Like TSM, COG, C9, Liquid, all lost. So as much as there is that old guard or old boys club that people were talking about, this is actually, I think the last upset day we had was very similar teams losing.
Right.
Those teams are actually starting to struggle, and I think that's what people were looking for a lot when franchising came in, is like, we'll wait for these new orgs to start picking up some wins. It's kind of starting sooner than people thought.
Right, yeah. Right. But again, I think that can largely be attributed to the fact that while, yes, we had new orgs come in almost, or all orgs went through a major restructuring when it comes to their roster, right? And so we're still seeing some of that evidenced in teams like TSM struggling to put the finality of, the victory on a game. Still getting those leads, still finding some good looks, but just not able to come together in the end and put the W on the board.
Yeah, and it's not like it's always trending in the right direction either. It feels like these teams are taking steps forward and taking steps back. This time around, despite TSM usually getting gold leads, today they hardly had one at all for the entire game.
All right, how about this one? With no international evidence, obviously, but I know you two do a fair amount of watching of the other regions. Where or how can we even begin to assess the relative power level of the NALCS? Do you feel like the top teams are some of the best teams we've had in the NAL? Like, can you give me any kind of relative scale for where we are as a league right now in the spring split?
It's a little rough right now, I think. I was actually expecting a lot of parity in the league, and I think below the top 2 teams, we've seen that. The top 2 teams, I think, are pretty good, EchoFox and Cloud9, but still actually aren't as good as some of the top teams we've had in the previous splits. My big surprise is my 3-6, which I thought were actually pretty good, have looked pretty poor in the last few weeks.
Okay. I think that's the thing, is we had so many new rosters, so many things we were expecting to see out of these teams, and like Jad was saying, even the 3rd place team, Clutch Gaming, we thought, okay, good mid-jungle synergy, yada, yada, yada. You don't see that playing out. So, like, nothing is really going to expectations, which is concerning when there's so many new teams. Of course, some aren't going to work out, but most are not even working out according to how you thought they would.
Right. Many months. Many months until we end up on an international stage, so plenty of time for all of our teams to kick it up a notch. Now, as teams scrap to climb the standings, a few players made clear they were pivotal in achieving victory, earning themselves a spot in this week's